The shuttle descended toward Varel Prime's atmosphere like a falling diamond, its silver hull cutting through layers of indigo clouds. From the viewport, Evelyn Drake could see the glowing ring of the Virilan Institute suspended above the planet, a masterpiece of glass and gravity control. It shimmered like a halo around a world that had never known the chaos of rain, fire, or predators. A paradise built by creatures who believed danger was primitive. Evelyn smiled faintly. They've never set foot on Earth. The docking bay hissed open, and a humid violet mist swirled across the floor. Dozens of alien students waited beyond the barrier, tall, glimmering beings with scales, feathers, and chitinous plates that glinted under artificial light. Their conversations died the moment she stepped out. 1,000 eyes tracked her every move. The human, the Deathworlder. Her boots clicked softly on the polished deck. She walked straight, eyes forward, posture composed. She could feel the weight of every stare pressing into her back like tiny daggers. The air smelled faintly of ozone and sweet metal, sterile, safe, unreal. Evelyn Drake, a mechanical voice announced from a floating drone. Representative of Terra, first human enrolled in the Institute. Welcome. She gave a polite nod, her expression neutral. From the crowd, a voice cut through, smooth, amused. I thought they sent us a predator, not a child. Evelyn turned slightly. The speaker was a tall Virilan with sapphire skin and golden eyes. His posture screamed authority, arrogance worn like armor. Behind him, several others chuckled. Short, sharp, insectoid laughter. I'm Ril Kareth, he said, stepping closer. Top of my class. You must be fragile. Depends, Evelyn replied evenly. On what do you mean by fragile? Ril's smile widened. You bruise easily, don't you? Death worlds are filled with beasts and toxins. I can't imagine a creature surviving there without constant fear. Evelyn studied him for a heartbeat. Then in the same calm tone, she said, We learned early that fear doesn't help you live longer. It only helps you die slower. The laughter faltered. Ril's eyes narrowed, but he said nothing more. Orientation was a blur of alien customs and strange architecture. The halls curved in seamless arcs, walls made of living crystal that shifted color with the mood of the students. Her assigned quarters overlooked the blue-white storm bands of the planet below, breathtaking, sterile beauty. She unpacked silently. A single duffel bag, a few photographs of her unit on Luna's colony base. Her old combat jacket folded neatly in the corner, the only relic from a world that considered her generation obsolete. The message she'd received before leaving, Earth echoed in her mind. You're not there to fight. You're there to show them what a human really is. By the third day, the whispers had evolved into open mockery. In the xenobiology class, the instructor spoke of Deathworld species as examples of adaptive barbarism. He gestured to her without meeting her gaze. Observe the resilience of Homo sapiens, a species capable of enduring toxic air, extreme gravity, and self-inflicted conflict. Remarkable, yet primitive. The room rippled with laughter. Evelyn's jaw tightened, but her expression didn't change. She kept writing, her pen steady. After class, she overheard 2 alien students talking near the corridor's end. They say she used to hunt for food. Disgusting. Imagine killing with your hands. She probably enjoys it. Evelyn passed them without a word, but the smallest muscle in her cheek twitched. Combat studies was mandatory. That was Ril's arena, literally. A domed hall where gravity and atmosphere could shift at the instructor's whim. When Evelyn entered, the class paused. She stood at the edge of the polished black floor as the instructor, a towering insectoid being, addressed the group. Today we will explore instinctive defense. His voice buzzed like an electric storm. Pair up. Ril's smirk appeared immediately. She can have me. The instructor hesitated. Mr. Kareth, this exercise is not intended to injure. Of course not, instructor. I'll be gentle. The laughter that followed echoed off the dome. Evelyn said nothing. She moved into position, bare-handed, expression calm. Ril lunged first, a blur of motion and arrogance. His strike was flawless, fast, calculated, meant to humiliate. Evelyn sidestepped, absorbing the hit's momentum. Her stance didn't waver. He came again, harder, claws flashing. Evelyn moved with surgical precision, letting each attack slide past her by inches. She felt his frustration rising, the rhythm of his breathing quickening. "She's not even fighting!" one student shouted. "Coward!" another hissed. Evelyn's eyes never left Rill. Her voice, quiet but sharp, cut through the noise. "You mistake patience for fear." Rill snarled and launched a final attack, an overextended swing. That was the opening she'd waited for. Evelyn moved once, clean, controlled. A strike to the chest, perfectly balanced. The sound was like thunder compressed into a heartbeat. Rill hit the floor hard, air exploding from his lungs. The dome fell silent. Evelyn stepped back, breathing steady. She offered her hand. "On Earth," she said softly, "we call that restraint." Rill glared up at her, pride bleeding through his teeth. He took her hand anyway. The moment he stood, the instructor ended the session without comment. Later, alone in the observation deck, Evelyn stared out at the ringed planet below. Stars glimmered in the void like 1,000 quiet witnesses. She thought about home, the scent of rain on iron soil, the low hum of distant storms, the way her people had learned to endure every cruelty their planet offered. They had learned not just to survive, but to grow stronger because of it. A soft chime broke her reflection. A message blinked across her wristband, training footage circulating across campus. She opened it. The video played in silence, Rill charging, Evelyn moving like water, one motion, one strike, one fall. The replay looped endlessly. Comments flooded beneath it. Amusement, disbelief, a hint of fear. "Deathworld reflexes." She didn't even break a sweat. "They look efficient." Evelyn closed the feed and smiled faintly. The laughter had quieted. Not gone, but quieter. The next morning, she walked through the main hall. The same aliens who once mocked her now parted slightly as she passed. None met her eyes. Rill stood near the entrance, a bruise still faint beneath his collar. When she approached, he didn't smirk. He simply said, "That wasn't luck, was it?" Evelyn paused, meeting his gaze. "No," she said. "It was control." Rill nodded once, pride and resentment clashing behind his eyes. "Enjoy your moment, Deathworlder." "It won't last." She walked past him without looking back. Her steps were quiet but certain. The Institute's vast halls hummed with low murmurs. The human girl had made her first impression. Not through anger, but through poise. Through proof. And somewhere deep within that immaculate academy of alien intellect and arrogance, the first seed of unease had taken root. The Deathworlder was not what they expected. She was far more dangerous. The cafeteria of the Viralan Institute shimmered like a cathedral of glass and sound. Translucent tables floated on magnetic fields, and soft bioluminescent plants pulsed along the walls in rhythmic light patterns meant to soothe alien nervous systems. For most species, it was a place of rest. For Evelyn Drake, it was a stage. The moment she entered, conversations dipped, then shifted into whispers. She ignored them and moved to the food dispensary. The machine analyzed her DNA and dispensed a sealed container marked Terran Nutrient Base Number 5. She peeled it open, revealing something that looked suspiciously like mashed potatoes. A few aliens nearby chuckled. "How quaint," one of them said. "She eats paste." Evelyn took her tray and found an empty table. Her every movement was deliberate, calm, measured, almost ritualistic. Years of training had taught her that in hostile environments, composure was armor. She had just started eating when a shadow fell across her tray. "Mind if we join you, Deathworlder?" Rill Kareth stood there flanked by 3 others, a feathered Luthari with bright orange plumage, a gray-scaled Koran whose voice carried like stone scraping metal, and a pale Araxian whose 4 eyes blinked out of sync. Evelyn didn't look up. "Seats are open," she said. They sat, laughter already simmering beneath the surface. "You're quite the celebrity," Rill said. "That combat footage has been circulating across 6 systems. Some think it was staged." Evelyn took another bite. "Then they've never fought anyone from Earth." The Koran leaned forward, his scales clattering. We reviewed your planet's history in xenocultural studies. Endless wars, self-destruction. You people thrive on chaos. Evelyn's expression didn't shift. We adapt to it. There's a difference. The Araxian's eyes blinked in unsettling rhythm. Adaptation through violence isn't progress. It's desperation. Rill smiled faintly. You're out of your depth here, human. This is a place of intellect, not savagery. Evelyn looked at him finally, eyes steady, voice quiet but edged. And yet you still lost to a savage. The laughter cut off. The feathered Luthari hissed. Rill's smile vanished, replaced by the slow burn of wounded pride. He leaned in. You got lucky. You think you scare us? You're just fascinating in the way a predator behind glass is fascinating. Dangerous but trapped. Evelyn's gaze didn't move. You think I'm trapped? You built the cage. The silence stretched. Then Rill's smirk returned. Fine. Let's see how untrapped you are. He raised his wristband and projected a hologram above the table. A familiar scene filled the air. Burning cities, humans screaming, warships falling from orbit. The footage was from the Orion Wars, decades old, showing humanity's near annihilation. The aliens around them laughed. Deathworlders killing Deathworlders, the Corin said. A fitting end. Evelyn froze. The screams in the recording echoed faintly against the cafeteria walls. Her mother's city had looked like that once. Bright sky turned to fire. Turn it off, she said softly. Rill ignored her. Is this how you showed restraint? Vaporizing your own kind? Turn it off. Her tone didn't rise, but the air seemed to thicken. The lights above flickered, reacting to her biometrics. The Luthari leaned in, grinning. Come now, human. It's just history. Evelyn's fork clicked against the table. She looked up slowly, eyes calm, utterly still. Last warning. Rill smirked. Or what? 10 seconds, no one clearly saw the first move. The table flipped sideways with a crash of glass and scattered trays. Rill's wristband shattered as Evelyn's hand met it mid-motion. The Quran rose, swinging instinctively. She ducked, pivoted, and her palm struck his thorax. The impact sent him sprawling across another table. The Luthari lunged, feathers flashing. She sidestepped, caught his wing joint, twisted. A clean pop echoed. He screamed. The Araxian tried to stand, but her hand found his neck before he could react. She didn't squeeze, only pressed enough to immobilize. His eyes widened, then stillness. 10 seconds had passed. The cafeteria was silent. Plates floated in midair, frozen in magnetic suspension. A faint hum filled the void where laughter had been. Evelyn's breathing was even, eyes emotionless. She released the Araxian, straightened his collar, and stepped back. I warned you, she said quietly. Rill lay on the ground, gasping, his wristband sparking beside him. Fear flickered through his golden eyes for the first time. You attacked? No, she said, voice calm. I responded. Instructors rushed in moments later, summoned by the automated alert system. They froze at the sight. 4 elite students incapacitated, 1 human standing still, untouched. The insectoid instructor from combat studies clicked his mandibles uncertainly. Miss Drake, what happened? Evelyn answered evenly. A demonstration. They asked for one. He stared at her for a long moment before turning toward the med drones tending to Rill and the others. Class adjourned. Everyone at leave. The crowd dispersed slowly, whispering. Evelyn walked past them, unhurried, as if nothing unusual had occurred. Hours later, she sat on a bench in the observation garden overlooking the stars. The faint hum of the ring's rotation filled the silence. Her hands rested calmly on her knees, though her pulse hadn't slowed entirely. A soft, mechanical voice spoke behind her. You could have killed them. It was the combat instructor. His multifaceted eyes glowed faintly blue. I know, Evelyn said. And yet you didn't. That wasn't the lesson. He tilted his head. What was, then? She looked out the window. That restraint isn't weakness. It's choice. He studied her for a long time before nodding slowly. Deathworlders! Perhaps the Confederation misunderstood you. Evelyn didn't reply. That night, a message blinked across the inter-academy feed. Someone had leaked the cafeteria footage. It spread faster than anyone could contain it. Clip title, 10 Seconds of Humanity. Timestamp, 0000010. View count, 1.2 million in 2 hours. Comments scrolled in dozens of alien dialects. Confusion, awe, fear. She moved before they could react. Deathworld efficiency. No weapon, no power, just motion. Are all humans like that? The clip replayed on loop, those 10 seconds immortalized in galactic memory. The following morning, Rill didn't show up to class. The rumor was that he'd been moved to medical isolation, pride fractured as much as bone. The Luthari walked with a sling, the Quran limped, and no one spoke when Evelyn entered the hall. She could feel the shift, not acceptance, but wariness. Respect tinged with fear. It wasn't the outcome she wanted, but it was inevitable. As she walked to her seat, a young alien, small, translucent-skinned, barely old enough to attend, whispered something to her. "Is it true?" he asked. "That humans fight only when they must?" Evelyn paused, then nodded. "Yes, and only until we don't have to again." He nodded in understanding, or maybe awe, and scurried off. The instructor began lecturing about interspecies diplomacy, but Evelyn barely listened. Her mind was elsewhere, on the look in Rill's eyes before she stopped him, the flicker between arrogance and realization. They would call her dangerous now. Maybe they were right. Still, as she sat beneath the shifting lights of the alien academy, Evelyn felt something new ripple through the air. A quiet recalibration of fear and curiosity. For the first time, they weren't laughing. They were listening. And somewhere deep inside the Institute's pristine walls, the legend of the Deathworld Girl began to grow. The next morning, the Virilan Institute was no longer an academy. It was a storm. News drones hovered along the corridors, broadcasting silent holograms of Evelyn Drake mid-motion, her expression calm, eyes sharp, body poised between stillness and violence. 10 Seconds of Humanity had reached the galactic core. Billions had already seen it. Some called her a monster. Others called her proof. Evelyn stood by her dorm window, watching the endless curve of stars. Notifications flooded her wristband, interview requests, threats, offers. She ignored them all. Her reflection stared back, expression unreadable. Somewhere behind the glass, the galaxy had changed its opinion of her species, but not its nature. Fear had replaced laughter, and fear, she knew, was just another kind of respect. The door chimed. "Enter!" The combat instructor stepped inside, accompanied by a tall figure in ceremonial armor, the headmaster of the Institute, a Virelan elder whose translucent crest shimmered with authority. "Miss Drake," the headmaster began, his voice smooth but edged with tension. "You have caused disruption." Evelyn turned slowly. "I responded to provocation." He raised a hand. "You humiliated 4 of our most promising students and sparked a galactic incident. The Confederation's diplomatic channels are demanding an explanation. The Empire of Varel has petitioned for your expulsion." Evelyn didn't flinch. "Are they also demanding punishment for the ones who mocked the dead?" The headmaster hesitated, his glow dimming slightly. The instructor shifted but said nothing. Evelyn continued quietly. "You wanted to study humanity. You have your data now." The headmaster's crest flickered with frustration. "You misunderstand. The Institute exists to unify species through knowledge, not conflict." "Then perhaps you should have started by teaching empathy," she said, tone calm but cutting. "Not hierarchy." Silence stretched between them. The headmaster finally exhaled a low hum. "The council will deliberate your fate. Until then, you are confined to quarters. No classes, no interaction?" She nodded once. "Understood." As they turned to leave, the instructor paused by the doorway. "You've made them afraid," he said softly. "That can be dangerous." Evelyn met his gaze. "Sometimes fear wakes people up faster than diplomacy." By evening, the halls were alive with whispers. Students clustered around projectors, watching the clip again, dissecting it frame by frame. Some analyzed her technique, others debated her morality. A few human cadets from the outer colonies sent encrypted messages. You made us proud. But among the alien students, division spread like wildfire. Half admired her, half demanded her removal. In one of the classrooms, a heated discussion erupted. "She broke protocol," the Luthari shouted. "That's barbarism." "And yet she didn't kill anyone," replied an Araxian scholar. "Your kind would have. She's a Deathworlder. It's in her biology. Or maybe it's in yours, the instinct to look down." The argument escalated until instructors intervened. The footage had become more than scandal. It was ideology. That night, Evelyn sat cross-legged on the floor, watching the galactic network unfold. Dozens of news anchors across species debated the same question. Should Deathworld species be integrated into the Confederation's higher academies? Each replay of her clip looped in eerie silence. 10 seconds that carried the weight of centuries of human misunderstanding. Then something new appeared on the feed, a statement from the Terran embassy. "Humanity stands by Evelyn Drake. We regret the violence, but not the lesson." The message was brief, precise, unapologetic. Her wristband blinked again, a call request from an unknown source. She accepted. The hologram flickered to life, revealing an older woman with a military insignia on her collar. General Meredith Harlow, Earth's diplomatic envoy. "Miss Drake," she said, voice steady. "You've become the most watched person in the Confederation." Evelyn kept her composure. "Not something I planned. History rarely is. Listen carefully. The Institute is under pressure to make you an example, but others, even among the Council, see an opportunity. They're considering an invitation for humanity to send instructors here. In combat psychology," Evelyn frowned. "To teach? To explain, to redefine what they think strength means." The general leaned closer. "You did what diplomats couldn't. You reminded them that our restraint isn't weakness. It's civilization carved from struggle." "Hold your ground! Don't apologize." The transmission cut off. Morning came quietly. 2 armed security drones escorted Evelyn to the council chamber, a circular hall suspended in zero gravity, its floor a transparent dome showing the gas giant swirling below. 12 alien representatives floated around the perimeter, their bodies glowing with subtle light. The headmaster presided at the center. "Evelyn Drake of Terra," he began, "you stand accused of conduct unbecoming of a student of the Institute. Before judgment you may speak." Evelyn glanced around the chamber. "You've all seen the footage. You know what happened." Murmurs rippled through the council. "I didn't come here to prove humanity superior," she continued. "I came to learn, to show that we can stand beside you, not beneath you. But respect isn't granted for silence. It's earned through truth. You laughed at us because you believed our world broke us. You were wrong. It forged us." One counselor, an insectoid elder, hissed softly. "You advocate violence as philosophy?" Evelyn shook her head. "I advocate accountability." Violence wasn't the lesson. "Control was," another voice, soft and melodic, chimed in. "And if control fails?" Evelyn's eyes met theirs, steady. "Then you'll see why we survived our death world." The chamber fell quiet. After a moment, the headmaster spoke. "The council has decided. You will not be expelled. The Institute will retain you as a representative of human behavioral study. Additionally, the Confederation requests a delegation of human instructors to assist in curriculum reform." A ripple of astonishment moved through the crowd. Evelyn inclined her head slightly. "Then the lesson continues." When she returned to the corridors, eyes followed her again, not with ridicule this time, but wary respect. Students who had once mocked her now stepped aside. Even the walls, once glowing in pale, judgmental hues, seemed to dim in acknowledgement. Rill Careth waited near the observation deck, arm in a synth cast. His expression was unreadable. As she passed, he spoke quietly. "You changed everything," he said. "They talk about you like a force of nature," Evelyn stopped. "I didn't want that." "Maybe not," he said. "But now they'll never forget what your kind can do." She looked at him for a long moment. "Maybe someday they'll understand why we do it." Rill nodded once, the faintest hint of respect in his eyes. Later, Alone again, Evelyn stood before the massive viewing glass overlooking the endless planet below. A storm spun far beneath, white and violet clouds twisting like living art. She pressed a hand against the glass. Feeling the faint vibration of the ring's rotation, her wristband blinked. One final notification. 10 seconds of humanity. View count, 987 million. She exhaled slowly. To the galaxy, she had become a symbol of danger, of survival, of what it meant to come from a world that killed the weak and forged the strong. But to her it was simpler. She hadn't come to terrify them. She'd come to remind them what living truly meant. Behind her, the door slid open. The combat instructor's voice broke the silence. "They're already calling for new recruits from Terra. You've started something, Evelyn." She turned slightly, a faint smile touching her lips. "Not something, someone." He tilted his head. "Who?" "Us," she said quietly. "Humanity." Outside, lightning flashed across the planet below, a bright vein of energy arcing through the clouds. It reflected in her eyes like a promise. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy no longer saw humans as relics of a violent world. They saw them as survivors, and the Deathworld Girl stood alone, watching the storm, knowing this was only the beginning.